His eldest daughter, Princess Zara, who left these shores 5 years since to go to England, the greatest, the most powerful, the wisest country in the world, has taken a high degree at Girton and is on her way home again, having attained complete mastery of all the elements that have tended to raise that great and glorious country to its present preeminent position among civilized nations.
Then, in a few months, Utopia may hope to be completely anglicized.
Absolutely! And without a doubt.
But we're all very well as we are. Life without care. Everyone supplied by a kind and fatherly monarch, who, despot though he may be, has no other thought than to make his people happy. What are we to gain by this great change that is in store for us?
What have we to gain? English institutions, English tastes, and English fashion.
England has made herself what she is, because in that favoured land, everyone has to think for himself. Here, we have no need to think, because our monarch anticipates all our wants, and our political opinions are formed for us by the journals to which we subscribe. Oh, think how much more brilliant this dialogue would be if we were accustomed to exercise our reflective powers. They say that in England, the conversation of the very meanest is a conversation of impromptu epigram. My lord, I'm surprised at you. Are you not aware that His Majesty, in his despotic acquiescence with the emphatic wish of his people, has ordered the Utopian language shall be banished from his court, and that all communication shall henceforth be made in the English tongue?
Yes, I'm perfectly aware of it, although... Stop! Allow me.
What's that for?
Why, I've recently been appointed public exploder, and as I'm constitutionally nervous, I must accustom myself by degrees to the startling nature of my duties. Thank you. I was about to say that, although as public exploder, I am next in succession to the throne, I nevertheless shall do my best to abide by the royal decree. But when I'm overmastered by an indignant sense of overwhelming wrong, as I am now, I find I slip into my native tongue without realizing it. I understand that in the language of that great and pure nation, strong expressions do not exist. Consequently, when I want to let off a little steam, I have no alternative but to say,
What is your grievance?
It is this. By our constitution, we are ruled by a despot who, although in theory absolute, is in practice nothing of the kind. Being watched night and day by two wise men whose sole responsibility it is, on his very first lapse from social or political propriety, to denounce him to me, the public exploder. And it then becomes my duty to blow up His Majesty with dynamite. And then, as some compensation for my wounded feelings, I reign in his stead.
Yes, after many unhappy experiments in the direction of an ideal republic, it was found that what may be described as a despotism tempered by dynamite provides on the whole the most satisfactory description of ruler, an autocrat who dares not abuse his autocratic powers.
Yes, that's all very well in theory, but in practice, how does it act? Do you ever happen to read the Palace Peeper?
I never heard of the journal.
I'm not surprised because His Majesty's agents buy up the whole edition. But I have an aunt in the publishing department, and she has given me a copy. Well, it actually teems with circumstantially convincing evidence of His Majesty's abominable immoralities. If this high-class journal is to be believed, he is one of the most Heliogabalian profligates that ever disgraced an autocratic throne. And do those wise men denounce him to me? Not a bit of it. They wink at his immoralities. Under the circumstances, I've got no alternative but to say, I don't care. I don't care. The occasion demands it.
vanity.
We claim to rank before the wisest of humanity.
As gifts of head and heart were wasted on utility.
We're cast to play a part of great responsibility.
Our duty is to spy upon our king's illicitities.
We keep a watchful eye on all his eccentricities. If ever a trick he tries that savours of rascality. At our decree he dies without the least formality.
We fear no rude rebuff for newspaper publicity.
Our word is quite enough.
The
rest is electricity.
A pound of dynamite explodes in his auriculars.
It's not a pleasant sight.
We'll
spare you the particulars.
Its force for men confess.
The
king needs no admonishing.
We may say its success is something quite astonishing. A despotic imbues with virtues quite delectable. He minds his bees and cues and keeps himself respectable.
Of a tyrant polite,
he's a arrogant wight.
He's as modest and mild.
In his ways is a child.
And knowing and met with an autocrat yet.
So delightfully bland to the least in the land. So delightfully bland to the least in the land. So bland. So bland.
So big we for the wise men, the uprise men, double festival to university. For the lovely is silent, which is violent, she has no one to match with adversity.
Phantis, you are not in your customary exuberant spirit. What is wrong?
Nothing. A little passing anxiety, that's all.
Oh, why? What have we to be anxious about? Are not all our secret little commercial ventures doing tremendously? Our time bargains, our betting office, our cheap wine business, our army clothing concern, our matrimonial agency, our advertising office, our roulette tables, our exchange in mart.
Hush! Pray be careful. It should be known that these are our speculations and that we have compelled the king to place his royal authority and influence at our disposal for their advancement. We should be ruined.
As for our society paper, why, its circulation has increased tenfold since we compelled His Majesty to contribute every week a couple of pages of disreputable attacks on his own moral character. As to our theatre, why, since we insisted on his writing a grossly personal comic opera in which he is held up nicely to the scorn and contempt of overwhelming thousands, we have played to double prices.
Your commercial instincts have been invaluable to us. My anxiety has nothing to do with our unacknowledged business ventures. Scaphio, I think you once told me that you had never loved.
Never. I have often marvelled at the very influence which weaves its rosy web about the faculties of the greatest and wisest of our race. But I thank heaven I have never yet been subjected to its singular fascination. For, O Phantis, there is that within me that tells me that when my time does come, the convulsion will be tremendous. When I love, it will be with the fervour of 66 years. But I have an ideal, a semi-transparent being, filled with an inorganic pink jelly. And I have never yet met a woman who approaches within measurable distance of it. All are opaque, opaque, opaque.
Keep that ideal firmly before you and don't love until you find her. Oh, but 55, I am an old campaigner in the battlefields of love, and believe you me, it is better to be as you are, heartfelt and happy, than I am, eternally racked with doubting agonies. Scaphio. Princess Zara returns from England today.
My poor boy, I see it all.
Scaphio, she is so beautiful. Ah, you smile, for you have never seen her. She sailed for England 3 months before you took office.
Tell me, is your affection requited?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Sometimes I think it is, and then I have these torturing doubts. I feel sure she doesn't regard me with complete indifference, because she could never look at me without having to go to bed with a sick headache.
Oh, that is surely something. Come, take heart, boy. You are young and beautiful. What more could a maiden want?
Oh, Scaphio, you forget she returns from a land where every youth is as a young Greek god, and such poor beauty as I can boast is seen at every turn.
Be of good cheer, marry her, boy, if so your fancy wills, and be sure that love will come.
Then you will assist me in this?
Why, surely, silly one, what have you to fear? We have but to say the word, and her father must consent. Is he not our very slave?
Now I may hope indeed. Scaphio, you have placed me on the very pinnacle of human joy.
Let all your doubts take wing, our influence is great. If Paramount our king presume to hesitate, put on the screw and caution him that he will rule disaster grim that must ensue to life and limb should he pursue this harmless whim.
This harmless whim,
This harmless whim,
this harmless whim.
this harmless whim.
It is as you say, a harmless whim, a harmless whim. Observe this dance, which I employ, when I by chance go mad with joy. What sentiment does this express? What sentiment does this express? Happiness, of course it does, of course it does. Supreme content and happiness, of course it does, of course it does. It's happiness. Your friendly aid conferred, I need no longer pine. I but to say the word, and lo, the maid is mine. I do not choose to be denied, or wish to lose this lovely bride. If to refuse the king decide, the royal choose, then woe betide.
Then woe betide,
Then woe betide.
then woe betide,
Then woe betide. The royal choose, then woe betide. Then woe betide.
this step to use, I condescend, when there I choose to serve a friend. What it implies, now try to guess. What it implies, now try to guess. Unselfishness.
Of course it does, of course it does. It typifies unselfishness. Of course it does, of course it does. Unselfishness.
autocratic power we, a despot whose tyrannic will is law, whose rule is paramount on land and sea, a presence of unutterable awe. But though the awe that I inspire must shrivel with imperial fire, all foes whom it may chance to touch, to judge by what I see and hear, it does not seem to interfere with popular enjoyment much.
No, no, it does not interfere with our enjoyment much.
Stupendous when we rouse ourselves to strike, resistless when our tyrant thunder peals. We often wonder what obstruction's like, or how a contradicted monarch feels. But though it is our royal whim, our royal sails to set and trim, to suit whatever wind may blow, what Buffett's contradiction deals, or how a thwarted monarch feels, we probably shall never know.
No, no, what thwarted monarch feels, we'll never, never know.
My subjects all, it is your wish emphatic, that all Utopia shall henceforth be modelled upon that glorious country called Great Britain, to which some add, but others do not, Ireland.
It is!
That being so, as you insist upon it, we have arranged that our two younger daughters who have been finished by an English lady, a grave and good and gracious English lady, shall daily be exhibited in public, that all may learn what from the English standpoint is looked upon as maidenly perfection. Come hither, daughters.
stranger meets two well-behaved young ladies. He's attractive, young and active, each a little bit afraid is. Youth and fancies, at their glances, to their danger they awaken. They repel him as they tell him he is very much mistaken, very, very much mistaken. Though they speak to him politely, please observe their sneering slightly, just to show he's acting vainly. This is virtue saying plainly, go away, young bachelor, we are not what you take us for. We're not dressed impertinently, English ladies answer gently, go away, young bachelor, we are not what you take us for.
English ladies answer gently, when addressed impertinently. Go away, young bachelor, we're not what you take us for.
As he gazes, hat he raises, enters into conversation, makes excuses, this produces interesting agitation. He was fearing and despairing, gives his card, his rank discloses, little heeding this proceeding, they turn up their little noses, yes, their little noses. Pray observe this lesson vital, when a man of rank and title his position first discloses, always cock your little noses, when at home let all the class try this in the looking glass. English girls of well-bred notions shun all unrehearsed emotions. English girls of highest class practice them before the glass.
English girls of well-bred notions shun all unrehearsed emotions. English girls of highest class practice them before the glass.
His intentions, then he mentions something definite to go on, makes recitals of his titles, insect settlements and so on. Smiling sweetly, they discreetly ask for further evidences. Thus invited, he delighted, gives the usual references. Don't forget the references. This is business, each is fluttered when the offer's fairly uttered. Which of them has his affection? He declines to make selection. Do they quarrel for his dross? Not a bit of it, they toss. Please observe this cogent moral. English ladies never quarrel. When a dodge they come across, English ladies always toss.
Please observe this cogent moral. English ladies never quarrel. When a dodge they come across, English ladies always toss.
The lecture's ended in 10 minutes space. 'Twill be repeated in the marketplace.
as to favour me with an audience this morning.
Oh, here they are. Your Majesty wished to speak with us, I believe. You needn't keep your crown on our account, you know.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I always forget that. Odd, the notion of a king not being allowed to wear one of his own crowns in the presence of two of his own subjects.
Yes, bizarre, is it not?
But most quaint, but then, it's a quaint world.
Teems with quiet fun. Often think what a good thing it is that you are blessed with such a keen sense of humour.
Do you know that I find it invaluable? Do what I will, I cannot help looking at the humorous side of things, for properly considered, everything has its humorous side. Even the palace peeper. See here. Another royal scandal by Junius Junior. How long is this to last by Senex Senior? Ribald royalty by Mercury Major. Where is the public exploder by Mephistopheles Minor? When I reflect that all these outrageous attacks on my morality are written by me at your command, why, it's one of the funniest things that have come within the scope of my experience.
Besides, apart from that, they have a quiet humour of their own, which is simply irresistible.
Not bad, I think. Biting, trenchant sarcasm. The rapier. Not the bludgeon, that's my line. But then it's so easy. I'm such a good subject. A bad king, but a good subject. Ha! Ha! A capital heading for next week's leading article. And then the stinging little paragraphs about our royal goings-on with our second royal housemaid. Delicately sub-acid, are they not?
My dear king, in that kind of thing, no one can hold a candle to you.
Yes. You refer, of course, to the literary quality of the paragraphs.
Of course.
Because the essence of the joke lies in the fact that instead of being the abominable profligate they suggest, why, I'm one of the most fastidiously respectable persons in my whole dominions.
But the crowning joke is the comic opera you've written for us. King Tuppence, or a good deal less than half a sovereign, in which the celebrated English tenor, Mr. Wilkinson, burlesques your personal appearance and gives grotesque imitations of your royal peculiarities. It's immense.
Yes, that's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, I've not the least doubt but that even that has its humorous side too, if one could only see it. As a rule, I'm pretty quick at detecting latent humour, but I confess I do not quite see where it comes in this particular instance. It's so horribly personal.
Personal? Why, of course it's personal, but consider the antithetical humour of the situation.
Yes, I don't think I've quite grasped that.
No? You surprise me. Why, consider. During the day, thousands tremble at your frown. During the night, from 8 till 11, thousands roar at it. During the day, your most arbitrary pronouncements are received by your subjects with abject submission. During the night, they shout with joy at your most terrible decrees. It's not every monarch who can enjoy the privilege of undoing by night all the despotic absurdities he's committed during the day.
Of course! Now I see it! Oh, thank you very much. I was certain it had its humorous side, and it was very dull of me not to have seen it before. But, as I said just now, it's a quaint world.
Teems with quiet fun.
Yes, properly considered, what a fast life is, to be sure.
First you're born, and I'll be bound you find a dozen strangers round you.
Hello, cries
The newborn baby,
where's my parents, which may they be?
awkward silence, no reply, puzzled baby wonders why. Father rises, bows politely, mother smiles but not too brightly. Doctor mumbles like a dumpling, nurse is busy mixing something. Every symptom tends to show you're decidedly de trop. Ho, 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 ho! Tiny totem, if you've seen it, gives its quantum once a minute. I'll go bed who hits the nail, and if you feel the juice is in it. You grow
lover. Some young lady is collected, poor perhaps but well connected, whom you hail for love is blind, as the queen of fairy kind. Though she's plain, perhaps unsightly, makes her face up laces tightly, in her form your fancy traces, all the gifts of all the graces, rivals none the maidens woo, so you take her and she takes you. Ho, 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 ho! Joke beginning never ceases, till your inning time releases. On your way you blindly stray, and day by day the joke increases. 10 years later, time progresses. How's your temper, thins your tresses? Fancy then her chain relaxes, rates are facts and so are taxes. Fairy queen's no longer young, fairy queen has got a tongue. Twins have probably intruded, quite unbidden, just as you did. They're a source of care and trouble, just as you were only double. Comes at last its final stroke, time has had his little joke. Ho, 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 ho! Daily driven, wife is drover, ill you've thriven there in clover. Last we went 70, it's not till then the joke is over. Ho, 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 ho! Daily driven, wife is drover, ill you're thriven there in clover. Last we went 70, and it's not till then the joke is over.
It's all very well. I always like to look at the humorous side of things, but I do not think I ought to be required to write libels on my own moral character. Well, naturally, I see the joke of it. Anybody would. But Zara's coming home today. She's no longer a child, and I confess I should not like her to see my opera, though it's uncommonly well written. And I should be sorry if the palace paper got into her hands, though it's certainly smart. Very smart indeed. It's almost a pity I have to buy up the whole edition because it's really too good to be lost. Besides, one never knows. A copy might leak out, and that would be very confusing, although, of course, great fun. Oh, and Lady Sophy, that blameless type of perfect womanhood. Good heavens, what would she say if the second housemaid business happened to meet her pure blue eye?
My monarch is soliloquizing. I will withdraw.
Oh, pray do not go! Now I'll give you 50 chances and you won't guess whom I was thinking of.
Alas, sir, I know too well. Ah, King, it's an old story, and I'm well nigh weary of it. Be warned in time. From my heart, I pity you, but I am not for you.
Oh, but hear what I have to say.
It is useless. Listen. In the course of a long and adventurous career in the principal European courts, it has been revealed to me that I unconsciously exercise a weird and supernatural fascination over all crowned heads. So irresistible is this a singular property that there is not a European monarch who has not implored me, with tears in his eyes, to quit his kingdom and take my fatal charms elsewhere. As there is not a civilized king who is sufficiently single to realize my ideal of abstract respectability, I extended my sphere of action to the islands of the South Pacific, only to discover that the monarchs of those favoured climes were at least as lax in their domestic arrangements as the worst of their European brethren. As time moved on, it occurred to me that by descending several pegs in the scale of respectability, I might qualify your Majesty for my hand. Actuated by this humane motive, and happening to possess respectability enough for 6, I consented to confer respectability enough for 4 upon your 2 younger daughters. But although, alas, I only have respectability enough for 2 left,
There is still, as I gather from the public press of this country, a considerable balance in my favour.
May I ask how you came by this?
It was handed to me by the officer who holds the position of public exploder to your Imperial Majesty.
And surely, Lady Sophy, surely you were not so unjust as to place any faith in the irresponsible gabble of the society press.
I read on the authority of Senex Senior that your Majesty was seen dancing with your second housemaid on the oriental platform of the Tivoli Gardens. That is untrue.
Oh, absolutely. Our second housemaid has only one leg.
How do you know that?
Common report. I give you my honour.
It may be so. I further read, and the statement is vouched for by no less an authority than Mephistopheles Minor, that your Majesty indulges in a bath of hot rum punch every morning. I trust I do not lay myself open to the charge of displaying an indelicate curiosity as to the mysteries of the royal dressing room. When I ask if there is any foundation to this statement...
None whatever. When our medical advisor exhibits rum punch, it's a draft, not as a fermentation. As to our bath, our valet plays the garden hose on us every morning.
Oh, pray, spare me these unseemly details. Well, you are a despot. Have you taken steps to slay the scribbler?
Well, no, I've not gone so far as that. After all, it is the poor devil's living, you know.
It is the poor devil's living that surprises me. If he is guilty, there is no recognised punishment that is adequate for him.
That's precisely it. I am waiting until a punishment is discovered that will exactly meet the enormity of the case. I am in constant communication with the Mikado of Japan, who is a leading authority on such points. Moreover, I have the ground plans and sectional elevations of several capital punishments in my desk at this moment. Oh, Lady Sophy, as you are powerful, be merciful. Subjected to your heavenly gaze, poetical phrase, my brain is turned completely. Observe me now, no morning I vow was ever so far afflicted.
I'm pleased with that poetical phrase, a heavenly gaze. But though you put it neatly, say what you will, these paragraphs still remain uncontradicted. Come crush me this contemptible worm. A forcible term, if he's assailed you wrongly, the rage display, which as you say, has moved your Majesty lately.
Though I admit that forcible term, contemptible worm appeals to me most strongly. To treat this pest as you suggest would pain my Majesty greatly.
This right and lies.
Yes, bother his eyes.
He lives, you say.
In a sort of a way.
Then have him shot.
Decidedly not.
Or crush him flat.
I cannot do that. Oh, royal Rex, my blameless sex, abhor such conduct, lady. I plead in vain, whatever will gain respectable English lady. Respectable English
The escort first lifeguards on the royal yacht when the waves were white and a helmet hot and a tunic tight and a great big boots we applied the storm for an upgrade troops and his uniform a well-trained troop and their discards with me and the escort first lifeguards the first lifeguards and we are the escort first lifeguards. The escort first lifeguards. When the tempest blows and the ship went so, do you suppose you're ill? No, tarnish hot and a tunic tagged and a helmet hot and a breastplate white with well-trained troop and their discards. We stored as the escort first lifeguards. The first lifeguards. We stored as the escort first lifeguards.
But first, let me present you the English warrior who commands my escort, and who has taken such care of me during the voyage. Captain Fitzbattleaxe?
When the tempest blows and the ship went so, do you suppose we will...
Sir, you come from a country where every virtue flourishes. We trust you will not criticize too severely such shortcomings as you may detect from our semi-barbarous society.
Sir, I have eyes for nothing but the blameless. And the beautiful.
Oh, we thank you. He is really very polite. Lady Sophy, do not leave us.
Sir, your children are young and so far innocent. If they are to remain so, it is necessary that they are at once removed from the contamination of their present disgraceful surroundings.
Oh, dear, they really mustn't. Captain Fitzbattleaxe.
Sir!
Your troopers appear to be receiving a troublesome amount of attention from those young ladies. I know how strict you English soldiers are, and I should be extremely distressed if anything should occur to shock their puritanical British sensitiveness.
Well, I really don't think there's much chance of that.
You think not? They won't be offended?
No, they're quite hardened to it. They get a good deal of that sort of thing, standing sentry at horse guards.
Oh. It's English, is it?
It's particularly English.
Oh, then of course it's all right. Pray proceed, ladies. It's particularly English. Come, my daughter, for we have much to say to each other.
Farewell, Captain Fitzbattleaxe. I cannot thank you too emphatically for the devoted care with which you have watched over me during our long and eventful voyage. Our gallant soldier, brave and true, intended field and tourney. I grieve to have occasioned you so very long a journey. A British soldier gives up all his home and island beauty, when summoned by the trumpet call of regimental duty.
A British soldier sails above in Southern Island and summoned by the thought of regimental duty.
Such escort duty as is due to young like guardsman falling completely reconciles him to his uneventful calling. When soldier seeks utopian blaze in charge of youth and beauty, then pleasure merely masquerades as regimental duty.
We are the escort West Lifeguards, West Lifeguards, West Lifeguards. We are the escort West Lifeguards, West Lifeguards, West Lifeguards, West Lifeguards.
There. Tell me, Scaphio, is she not beautiful? Can you wonder that I love her so passionately?
No. She is extraordinarily, miraculously lovely. Good heavens! What a singularly beautiful girl.
I knew you would say so.
What exquisite charm of manner. What surprising delicacy of gesture. Why, she's a goddess. A very goddess.
Yes, she's an attractive girl.
Attractive? Ah, you must be blind. Why, she's entrancing, enthralling. Her walk, her smile, her play of feature. What eyes, what lips. Why, it's bewildering, dazzling, intoxicating. Oh, God bless my heart. What's the matter with me?
Yes, you promised to help me get her father's consent, you know.
Promised? Yes, but the convulsion has come, my good boy. It is she, my ideal. My ideal, did I say?
Yes, you said so.
Then I lied. For by all that's dazzling, I had no conception that the world contained such transcendental loveliness. Why, what's this? Phantis, stop me! Oh, I'm going mad! Mad with the love of her! Oh, what eyes! What ears! What shoulders!
Scaphio, compose yourself, I beg. The girl is perfectly opaque. Besides, remember, each of us is helpless without the other. You can't hope to succeed without my consent.
And you dare to threaten? Oh, ungrateful! When you came to me palsied with love for this girl and implored my assistance, did I not unhesitatingly promise it? Oh, out of my sight, ingrate! Oh, dear, dear, what is the matter with me?
Dear me! I'm afraid we're interrupting a tete-a-tete.
No, you come very appropriately. To be brief, we, this man and I, love you madly, passionately.
Sir!
And we don't know how we are to settle which of us is to marry you.
Zara, this is very awkward.
I am paralyzed by the singular radiance of your extraordinary loveliness. I know I am incoherent. I never was like this before. It shall not occur again. I shall be fluent presently.
Oh dear. Captain Fitzbattleaxe, what is to be done?
Leave it to me. I'll manage it. It's a common situation. Why not settle it in the English fashion?
The English fashion? What is that?
It's very simple. In England, when two gentlemen are in love with the same lady, and until it is settled which gentleman is to blow out the brains of the other, it is provided by the Rival Admirers Clauses Consolidation Act that the lady be entrusted to an officer of the household cavalry, who is bound to hand her over to the survivor on the tontine principle in a good condition of substantial and decorative repair.
Reasonable wear and tear and damage by fire accepted?
Exactly.
Well, that seems perfectly reasonable. What do you say? Shall we entrust it to this officer of the household cavalry and give us time?
Well, I am not at present in a condition to think it out coolly, but if he is an officer of the household cavalry and if the princess consents...
Alas, dear sirs, I have no alternative under the Rival Admirers Clauses Consolidation Act.
Good. Then that's settled. It's understood, I think, all round, that by the English custom bound, I hold the lady safe and sound in trust for either rival, until it's settled by and by, like sword or pistol by and by, which gentleman prefers to die, and which prefers survival.
It's clearly understood around that by the English custom bound, he holds a gentleman and sound in trust for either rival. A massive nation testify by sword or pistol by and by, which gentleman prefers to die, and which prefers survival.
If I should die and he should live to you without reserve, I give her heart so young and sensitive and all her predilections.
If he should live and I should die, I see no kind of reason why you should not, if you wish it, try to gain her young affection.
If I should die and he should live to I said to him, I love you. You should live and I should try to win her young affections. If I should die and he should live to this young affection, nothing so sensitive to cause her predilections. And if you should live and I should die, I see no kind of reason why I should not, if I chooses, try to gain her young affection.
please infer that nothing lows. You're henceforth, as it were, engaged to marry both. Now take it that I represent the two. In that hypothesis, what would you do?
What would I do? What would I do? In such a case, upon your breast, my blushing face, I think I'd rest. Then perhaps I might demurely say, I find this breastplate bright is sorely in the way.
A mortal race is never blessed. There's no such case as perfect rest. Some petty blight asserts its sway. Some crumpled rose-leaf light is always in the way.
In such a
Mortal
case,
race is never blessed. There's no such case as
on your breast, on your breast, in perfect Oh, poor, trusting, simple-minded and affectionate old gentlemen. I'm really sorry for them. How strange it is that when the flower of a man's youth has faded, he seems to lose all charm in a woman's eyes. And how true are the words of my expurgated juvenile. Festinat decurere velox flosculus, angustae miseraeque brevissima vitae potio.
The short bloom of our brief and narrow life flies fast away.
If we could only make up our minds to invest our stock of youth on commercial principles, instead of squandering it at the outset, old age would be as extinct as the dodo. Youth is a boon avowed, a gift of priceless worth, to rich and poor allowed, with which all men at birth, the lowly and the proud, are
last we are alone together.
Yes, and I'm glad we are, for I want to speak to you very seriously. Do you know this paper?
Yes, I've seen it. Where in the world did you get this from?
It was given to me by Lady Sophy, my sister's governess.
Lady Sophie's an angel, but I do sometimes wish she'd mind her own business. It's rather humorous.
I see nothing humorous in it. I only see that you, the despotic king of this country, made the subject the most scandalous insinuations. Why do you permit these things?
Well, they appeal to my sense of humour. It's the only really comic paper in Utopia, and I wouldn't be without it for the world.
If it had any literary merit, I could understand it.
Oh, it has literary merit. It most distinctly has literary merit.
My dear father, it's mere ungrammatical twaddle.
Oh, it's not ungrammatical. I can't allow that. Unpleasantly personal, perhaps, but written with an epigrammatical point, which is very rare nowadays. Very rare indeed.
Oh. Why do they represent you with such a big nose?
Why, the fact is that in the cartoons of a comic paper, the size of your nose always varies inversely as the square is your popularity. It's the rule.
Then you must be at a tremendous discount just now. Oh, I see a notice for a new piece called King Tuppence, in which an English tenor has the audacity to personate you on a public stage. I can only say that I'm surprised that any English tenor should lend himself to such degrading personalities.
Oh, he's not really English. As it happens, he's a utopian. He just calls himself English.
Calls himself English?
Yes, bless you. They wouldn't listen to any tenor who didn't call himself English.
And you permit this buffoon to caricature you in a pointless burlesque? Oh, my dear father, there's something wrong here. If you were a free agent, you would never permit these outrages.
Zara, I admit I am not altogether a free agent. I am controlled. I try to make the best of it, but sometimes I find it very difficult indeed. Nominally, a despot I am. Between ourselves, the helpless tool of two unscrupulous wise men who insist on my falling in with their wishes and threaten to denounce me for immediate explosion if I remonstrate.
My poor father. Now listen to me. With a view to remodelling the political and social institutions of Utopia, I have brought with me 6 representatives of the principal causes, which have tended to make England the happy, powerful, blameless country which the consensus of European civilization has declared it to be. Place yourself unreservedly in the hands of these gentlemen, and they will reorganize your country on a footing that will enable you to defy your persecutors. They're all now washing their hands after their journey. Shall I introduce them?
My dear Zara, how can I thank you? I will consent to anything that will release me from the abominable tyranny of these 2 men. Water! Without thou! Summon my court without an instant's delay.
Daughter most thoughtfully has brought with her from England the types of all the causes that have made that great and glorious country what it is.
Oh, joy unbounded! What does this mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Attend to me, Utopian populace, ye South or 5 or anything you please. An eminent logician who can make it clear to you that black is white when looked at from the proper point of view. A marvelous philologist who'll undertake to show that yes is but another and a neater form of no.
Yes, 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 yes is but another and a neater form of no. All preconceived ideas on any subject I can scout and demonstrate beyond all possibility of doubt that whether you're an honest man or whether you're a thief depends on whose solicitor has given me my brief.
Yes, 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 and whether you're an honest man or whether you're a thief depends on whose solicitor has given you his brief.
What these may be, utopians or perhaps you'll hardly guess. They're types of England's physical and moral cleanliness. This is a Lord High Chamberlain of purity in a gauge. He'll cleanse a court from moral stain and purify our stage.
Yes, 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 court reputations I revise, and presentations scrutinize. New plays I read with careless eyes, and glorify the stage.
Court reputations he'll revise, and presentations scrutinize. New plays he reads with jealous eyes, and glorifies the stage.
This county council law acclaim Great Britain's latest toy. On anything you like to name, his talents he'll employ. All streets and squares he'll purify within your city walls, and keep in mind the modest eye on wicked music halls.
Yes, 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 in towns are making improvements great, which go to swell the county rate. Dwelling houses sanitate and purify the oaths.
In towns he makes improvements great, which goes to swell the county rate. In dwelling houses sanitate and purify the oaths.
A company promoter, this with special education, which teaches what contigo means and also backwardation. To speculators he supplies a grand financial leaven. Time was when two were company, but now it must be 7.
Yes, 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 time was when two were company, but now it must be 7. Stupendous loans to foreign thrones I've largely advocated. In ginger pops and peppermint drops I've freely speculated. Then mines of gold of wealth untold successfully I floated, and sudden falls in apple stalls occasionally quoted. But soon or late I always call for stock exchange quotation. No schemes too great and none too small for company vacation.
Yes, 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 no schemes too great
Captain Corcoran, K.C.B. I'll teach you how we rule the sea and terrify the simple, and how the Saxon and the Celt their Europe shaking blows have dealt with Maxim gun and Nordenfelt, all will when the occasion calls. If sailor like you'd play your cards, unbend your sails and lower your yards, unstep your masts, you'll never want more. Though we're no longer hearts of oak, yet we can steer and we can stoke, and thanks to coal and thanks to coke, we never run a ship ashore.
What, never?
No, never.
What, never?
Well, hardly ever.
Hardly ever run a ship ashore. Then the infringers and preachers more for the law who never runs a ship ashore. The infringers and preachers more for he never runs a ship ashore. Oh, hell, oh, hell, it hurts so big well. It hurt them night and night. We bless the day and bless the all night through
He wanders from a mighty state.
He wanders from a mighty state.
So teach us how to legislate.
Your light is where we wait. In our attentive ears. We'll teach the natives of this land. We'll teach the natives of this land who are not quick to understand. Who are not quick to understand. Ye wanderers from a mighty state. Oh, teach us how to legislate. You know as I very well. In our attentive ears.
Increase your army, purify your coat, get up your steam, and cut your canvas short.
To speak of both sides, teach your elf friends.
Widen your thoroughfares and push your dreams. Utopia's much too big for one small head. I'll float it as a company limited. A company limited, what could that be? The term I rather think is due to me.
A company limited. What will it be?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Give us a kind of clue. What does it mean? What does it mean? What is he going to do?
Some 7 men form an association, if possible, or peers and baronets. They start out with the public declaration. To what extent they mean to pay their debts, it's called their capital. If they are wary, they will not quote it at a sum immense. The figure's immaterial, it may vary from 18 million down to 18 pence. I should put it rather low. The good sense of doing so will be evident at once to any debtor. When it comes for you to say what amount you mean to pay, why, the lower you can put it at, the better.
When it's left for you to say what amount you mean to pay, why, the lower you can put it and the better.
You then proceed to trade with all who trust them, quite irrespective of your capital. It's shady, but it's sanctified by custom. Bank, railway loan, or Panama Canal, you can't embark on trading too tremendous. It's strictly fair and based on common sense. If you succeed, your profits are stupendous, and if you fail, pop goes your 18 pence. Make the money spin a spin, for you only stand to win, and you never with dishonesty be twitted, for nobody can know to a million or so to what extent your capital's committed.
For nobody can know to a million or so to what extent your capital's committed.
If you come to grief and creditors are craving, for nothing that is planned by mortal head is certain in this vale of sorrow, saving that one's liability is limited. Do you suppose that signifies perdition? If so, you're but a monetary dance. You merely file a winding-up petition and start another company at once. Though a Rothschild you may be in your own capacity, as a company you've come to utter sorrow. But the liquidators say, never mind, you needn't pay. So you start another company tomorrow.
But the liquidators say, never mind, you needn't pay. So you start another company tomorrow.
Well, at first sight, it strikes us as dishonest. But if it's good enough for virtuous England, that first commercial country in the world, it's good enough for us.
You'd best take care, please recollect, we had not been consulted.
And do I understand you that Great Britain, upon this joint stock principle is governed?
We haven't come to that exactly, but we're tending rapidly in that direction. The date's not distant.
We will be before you. We'll go down to posterity, renowned as the first sovereign in Christendom, who registered his crown and country under the Joint Stock Companies Act of 62. Henceforward of a verity, with fame ourselves we link, we'll go down to posterity, O sovereigns of the pink.
He has done amenity, our wishes not to blink. He'll go down to posterity much earlier than we think.
You go up to posterity if I inflict a blow.
We'll go down to posterity, we think we ought to know.
You go up, blown up with dynamite.
You go up, of course you're right. Go right, up, 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 up. You go up to posterity much earlier than they think. You go up to posterity much earlier than they think. You go up, you go up, you go up, you go up, you go up. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day. You go up to posterity much earlier than they think. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day. You go up to posterity much earlier than they think. You go up to posterity much earlier than they think. Much earlier than they think. Much earlier than they think.
Zara, my beloved, bear with me. Ah, do not laugh at my attempted sin. Repent not, mocking maid, thy girlhood's choice. The fervour of my love affects my voice. Attend all singers above, this doesn't admit of a question. Should keep himself quiet, attend to his diet, and carefully nurse his digestion. But when he's madly in love, it's certain to turn in his singing. You can't do dramatics with proper emphatics when anguish your bosom is ringing. When distracted with worries aplenty, and his pulse is 120, and his fluttering bosom the slave of mistrust is, a tenor can't do himself justice. Now observe. Oh, you see, I can't do myself justice. I could sing if my father were a mock. It's easy enough if you're acting. But when one's emotion is born of devotion, one mustn't be over-exacting. One ought to be firm as a rock, to venture shake in vibrato. When further's expected, keep cool and collected, or never attempt agitato. But of course when his tongue is of leather, and his lips appear pasty to clever, and his sensitive palate as dry as the crust is, a tenor can't do himself justice. Now observe. Oh, it's no use, I can't do myself justice.
Why, Arthur, what does it matter? When the higher qualities of the heart are all that can be desired, the higher notes of the voice are matters of comparative insignificance. Who thinks slightly of the coconut because it is husky? Besides, you are not singing for an engagement. You have that already.
How good and wise you are. How unerringly your practiced brain winnows the wheat from the chaff. The material from the merely incidental.
My Girton training, Arthur. At Girton, all is wheat, and idle chaff is never heard within its walls. But tell me, is not all working marvellously well? Have not our flowers of progress more than justified their name?
We have done our best. Captain Corker and I have, in concert, so thoroughly remodeled the sister services, and on so sound a basis, that the South Pacific trembles at the name of Utopia.
How clever of you.
Clever? Not a bit. It's as easy as possible when the Admiralty and the Horse Guards are not there to interfere. And so with the others, freed from the trammels imposed upon them by idle acts of Parliament, each has given his natural talents full play and introduced reforms which even in England were never dreamt of.
But perhaps the most beneficent change of all has been effected by Mr. Goldberry, who, discarding the exploded theory that some strange magic lies hidden in the number 7, has applied the limited liability principle to individuals, and every man, woman, and child is now company limited, with liability restricted to the amount of his declared capital. There is not a christened baby in Utopia has not already issued his little prospectus.
Marvelous is the power of a civilization, which can transmute by a word a limited income into an income limited.
Reform has not stopped here. It has been applied even to the costume of our people. Discarding their own barbaric dress, The natives of our land have unanimously adopted the tasteful fashions of England in all their rich entirety. Scaphio and Phantis have undertaken a contract to supply the whole of Utopia with clothing designed upon the most approved English models. And the first drawing room under the new state of things is to be held here this evening.
The drawing rooms are always held in the afternoon.
Ah, we have improved upon that. We all look so much better by candlelight. And when I tell you, dearest, that my court train has just arrived, you will understand that I'm longing to go and try it on.
Then we must part.
Necessarily for a time.
Oh, and just as I was going to tell you, with all the passionate enthusiasm of my nature, how deeply, how devotedly I love you.
Hush! Are these the accents of a heart that really feels? True love does not indulge in declamation. Its voice is sweet and soft and low. The west wind whispers when he woos the poplars. Words of love too loudly spoken bring their own untimely knell. Noisy vows are rudely broken, soft the song of Philomel. Whisper sweetly, whisper slowly, hour by hour and day by day. Sweet and low as accents holy are the notes of lovers'
Sweet and low,
Sweet and
sweet and low, as accents holy are the notes of lovers' lay.
are the notes of lovers'
Let the conqueror flushed with glory bid his noisy clarions bray. Lovers tell their artless story in a whispered vigilance. False is he whose vows are luring. Bid the listening echoes ring. Sweet and low and all enduring are the songs that lovers
Sweet and low, sweet and low, sweet and low.
To a monarch who has been accustomed to the uncontrolled use of his limbs, the costume of a British field marshal is perhaps at first a little cramping. Are you sure that this is all right? It's not a practical joke, is it? No one has a keener sense of humour than I have, but the first statutory cabinet council of Utopia Limited must be conducted with dignity and impressiveness. Now, where are the other 5 who signed the Articles of Association?
Sir, They are here.
Oh, gentlemen. Our daughter holds her first drawing room in half an hour. We shall have to make our half-yearly report in the interval. I am necessarily unfamiliar with the forms of an English cabinet council. Perhaps the Lord Chamberlain will kindly put us in the way of doing the thing properly and with due regard to the solemnity of the occasion.
Certainly, nothing simpler. Kindly bring your chairs forward. His Majesty will, of course, preside.
Like this?
Like this.
We take your word for it that this is all right. You are not making fun of us. This is in accordance with the practice of the court of St. James's.
It is in accordance with the practice of the court of St. James's Hall.
Ah, it seems odd, but never mind. Society has quite forsaken all her wicked courses, which empties out police courts and abolishes divorces.
Divorce is nearly obsolete in England.
No tolerance we show to undeserving rank and splendor, but the higher his position is, the greater the offender.
That's a maxim that is prevalent in England.
No peer is at our drawing room before the presence passes, who wouldn't be accepted by the lower middle classes. Each shady dame, whatever be her rank, is bowed out neatly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicized completely, completely, completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicizing we have brought about to Tories quite another land. In an enterprising movement, she is England with improvements to take beautifully over to her motherland.
How did we have beautified? We've done it with the lily. And all that isn't Belgrave Square is Strand and Piccadilly.
We haven't any slummeries in England.
We've solved the labour question with discrimination polished, so poverty is obsolete and hunger is abolished.
We are going to abolish it in England.
The Chamberlain, our native state, has purged beyond the question of risky situation and indelicate suggestion. No peace is tolerated if it's costumed indiscreetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicized completely, completely, completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicizing we have brought about to Tories quite another land. In an enterprising movement, she is England with improvements that she beautifully over to her motherland.
Our peerage we've remodeled on an intellectual basis, which certainly is rough on our hereditary races.
We are going to remodel it in England.
The brewers and the cotton lords no longer seek admission, and literary merit meets with proper recognition.
As literary merit does in England.
Who knows what we may count among our intellectual chickens, like you and Earl and Thackeray and perhaps a Duke of Dickens. Lord Phantis and Viscount Millay, when they come we'll welcome sweetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicized completely, completely, completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicizing we have brought about Utopia's quite another land. In an enterprising movement, she is England with improvements to teach usefully over to her motherland. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicizing
Now peerage we've remodeled on an intellectual basis, which certainly is rough on our hereditary races.
We're going to remodel it in England.
The brewers and the cotton lords no longer seek admission, and literary merit meets with proper recognition,
as literary merit does in England.
Who knows what we may count among our intellectual chickens, like you and Earl of Thackeray and perhaps a Duke of Dickens. Lord Fireness and Viscount Millay, when they come we'll welcome sweetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicised completely. It's rising of the thorough anglicising. We have prophesied Utopia such another land. In our enterprising movement, she is England with improvements from the other to our motherland. It is really a surprising what a thorough anglicising. We have undergone Utopia such another land. In our enterprising movement, she is England with improvements from the other to our motherland.
Now then, for our first drawing room. Where are the princesses? What an extraordinary thing it is that since European looking glasses were supplied to the royal bedrooms, my daughters are invariably late.
Sir, the Royal Highnesses await your pleasure in the anteroom.
Oh, well then request them to do us the favour to enter at once. My daughters, we are about to attempt a very solemn ceremony, so no giggling, if you please. Now, my Lord Chamberlain, we are ready.
Then, ladies and gentlemen, places, if you please. His Majesty will take his place in front of the throne and will be so obliging as to kiss all the debutantes.
What? Must I really?
Absolutely indispensable.
More jam for the palace people. Now then, is everyone in his place?
Everyone is in his place.
Then, let the revels commence.
Lord and Lady Painter and their daughter, Miss Viola Painter.
Lord and Lady Carpenter and their daughter, Miss Karen Carpenter.
Lord wagon master, and their daughter, Miss Salata, wagon master.
Lord and Lady Baker, and their daughter, Miss Studebaker.
Ceremonial, our wish displays to copy all Great Britain's courtly ways. Though lofty aims catastrophe entail, we'll gloriously succeed or nobly fail.
Frightened for engrossing
burn.
We do.
We fume with smart and rage.
We do.
These Englishmen who rule supreme, their undertaking they redeem by stifling every harmless scheme in which we both engage.
They do.
In which we both engage.
We think it is our turn.
We do.
We think our turn has come.
We do.
These Englishmen, they must prepare to seek at once their native air. The king has heretofore, we swear, shall be beneath our thumb.
He shall
be beneath our thumb.
He shall.
For this must be, and this won't do. If you'll back me, then I'll back you. No, this won't do. No, this must be. No, this must be, and this won't do.
This won't do!
Gentlemen, really? This unseemly display of energy within the royal precinct is altogether unpardonable. Pray, what do you complain of?
What do we complain of? Why? Through the innovations introduced by the Flowers of Progress, all our harmless schemes making provision for our old age are ruined. Our matrimonial agency is at a standstill. Our cheap sherry business is in bankruptcy. Our army clothing contracts are paralysed. Even our society paper, the Palace paper, is practically defunct.
Defunct? Is that so? Oh, dear, I'm truly sorry.
Are you aware that Sir Bailey Barr has introduced a law of libel by which all editors of scurrilous newspapers are publicly flogged, as in England, and 6 of our editors have resigned in succession. Now the editor of a scurrilous paper stands a good deal. He takes a private thrashing as a matter of course. It's considered in his salary. But no gentleman likes to be publicly flogged.
Naturally. I shouldn't like it myself.
Then our burlesque theatre is absolutely ruined.
Dear me. Well, theatrical property is not what it was.
And are you aware that the Lord Chamberlain, who has his own ideas as to how to best elevate the national drama, has refused to license any play that is not in blank verse and 300 years old, as in England?
And as if that wasn't enough, the county councillor has ordered a 4-foot wall be built right across the proscenium in case of fire, as in England.
Oh, it's awfully hard on the company who are liable to be roasted alive, and this has to be met with enormously increased salaries, as in England.
You probably know that we've contracted to supply the entire nation with a complete English outfit. But perhaps you do not know that when we send in our bills, our customers plead liability limited to a declared capital of 18 pence and apply to be dealt with under the Winding Up Act, as in England.
Really, gentlemen, this is very irregular. If you will be so good as to formulate a detailed list of your grievances in writing, addressed to the Secretary of Utopia Limited, they will be laid before the board in due course at the next monthly meeting.
Are we to understand that we are defied?
That is the idea I intended to convey.
Defied! We are defied!
Take care. You know our powers. Trifle with us and you die! If you think that when banded in unity, we may both be defied with impunity, you are sadly misled of the verity.
If you value repose and tranquility, you'll revert to a state of docility, or prepare to regret your temerity.
If my speech is unduly refractory, you will find it a course satisfactory at an early board meeting to show it up. Though a proper excuse you could company, you will wind up a limited company. You cannot conveniently blow it up.
Whene'er I chance to baffle you, I also dance a step or two. Of this now guess the hidden sense. Of this now guess the hidden sense.
Of course it does, of course it does. It needs complete indifference.
Indifference, indifference, indifference.
And we'll dance for every move with party draw. We will conclude what this may mean. You all may guess. It typifies remorselessness, remorselessness, remorselessness.
It means unrest.
Right! We are helpless. He's no longer a human being, he's a corporation. And so long as he confines himself to his articles of association, we can't touch him. What are we to do?
Do? Raise a revolution, repeal the Act of 62, reconvert him into an individual, and insist upon his immediate explosion. Ah, Tarara. Come here. You're the very man we want.
Oh, certainly. Allow me.
Oh, that's rude. We had no time for idle forms. You wish to succeed to the throne?
Oh, naturally.
You won't unless you join us. The king has defied us, and as matters stand, we are helpless. So are you. We must devise some cunning plot at once to bring the people about his ears.
Oh, a plot. Yes, a plot of superhuman subtlety. Have you such a thing about you?
I think not. Just one on my dressing table.
We can't wait. We must concoct one at once and put it into execution without delay. There's not a moment to spare.
With wine, the brain, upon the spot, a private plot we'll plan. The most ingenious private plots since private plots began. That's understood. So far we've got, and striking while the iron's hot. We'll now determine like a shot the details of this private plot.
I think we ought.
That wash I never heard.
Odd, happy thought.
How utterly dashed absurd. I'll tell you how.
Why, what put that in your head? I've got it now.
I'll take him away to bed. Oh, put him to bed.
Oh, put him to bed.
What put me to bed?
Yes, certainly put him to bed.
But bless me, don't you see?
Do listen to me, I pray.
It certainly seems to me.
Ah, this is the only way.
It's rubbish absurd, you growl.
You talk ridiculous stuff.
You're a dribbling non-growl.
You're a vapid and vain, oh puff. You're a vain, oh puff.
You're a dribbling
You're talking ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous stuff. So far we haven't quite solved the plot. They're not a very ingenious lot. But don't be unhappy, it's still on the tap. He will presently hit on a capital plot.
Suppose we all.
Now there, I think you're right. Then we might all.
It's true, we certainly might. I'll tell you what.
We will if we possibly can, then on the spot.
Bravo, a capital plan.
That's exceedingly neat and new.
Exceedingly new and neat.
I fancy that will do.
It's certainly very complete.
Well done, you sly old chap.
Bravo, you cunning old bull.
A very ingenious chap.
You intellectual soul.
You very
Bravo,
ingenious
you
chap.
cunning,
You ingenious chap.
Across the capital plan we got, we won't say how and we won't say what. It's safe and right on, now off we will toddle and slyly develop this capital plot.
At last the capital plan we got, we won't say how and we won't say what. It's safe and right on, now off we will toddle and slyly develop this capital plot.
Well, what do you think of our first South Pacific drawing room? Allowing for a slight difficulty with the trains and a little want of familiarity with the rouge pot, it was on the whole a meritorious affair.
My dear Dramely, it redounds infinitely to your credit.
Oh, one or two judicious innovations, I think.
Admirable. The cup of tea and the plate of mixed biscuits were a cheap and effective inspiration.
Yes, my idea entirely. Never been done before.
Pretty little maids, the king's youngest daughters, but shy.
That'll wear off. Young.
That'll wear off. Here they are now, by George, and without the dragon. What can they have done with her?
Oh, if you please. Lady Sophy has sent us in here because Zara and Captain Fitzbattleaxe are going on in the garden in a manner which no well-conducted young ladies ought to witness.
Oh, indeed. We are very much obliged to her ladyship.
Are you? I wonder why. Don't tell us if it's rude.
Rude? Not at all. We are obliged to Lady Sophy because she has afforded us the pleasure of seeing you.
I don't think you ought to talk to us like that.
It's calculated to turn our heads.
Attractive girls cannot be too particular.
Oh, pray do not take advantage of our unprotected innocence.
Pray be assured, you are in no danger whatever.
But may I ask, is this extreme delicacy, this shrinking sensitiveness, a general characteristic of utopian young ladies?
Oh, no. We are crack specimens.
We are the pick of the basket. Would you mind not coming quite so near? Thank you. Unfortunately, most young ladies are sadly lacking in that demure propriety which is so generally admired in us. Would you stand a little further off, please?
And please, don't look at us like that. It unsettles us.
And we don't like it. At least, we do like it, but it's wrong.
We have enjoyed the inestimable privilege of being educated by the most refined and easily shocked English lady on the very strictest English principles.
But my dear young lady.
Oh, don't! You mustn't. It's too affectionate.
It really does unsettle us.
Are you really under the impression that English girls are so ridiculously demure? Why, an English girl of the highest kind is the best, the most beautiful, the bravest, and the brightest creature that heaven has conferred upon this world of ours.
Oh, yeah!
She is frank, open-hearted, and fearless, and never shows in so favourable a light as when she gives her own blameless impulses full play.
Oh, you shocking story!
Not at all. I'm speaking the strict truth. I'll tell you all about her. A wondrous joy our eyes to bless, in her magnificent comeliness, is an English girl of 11 stone 2 and 5'10" in her dancing shoe. She follows the hounds, and on she pounds, the field tails off, and the muffs diminish. Over the hedges and brook she bounds, straight as a crow from fight to finish. At cricket her kin may lose or win, she and her maids on grass and clover, 11 maids out, 11 maids in, and perhaps an occasional maiden over. Go search the world and search the sea, and come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English girl. With a 10-mile spin she stretches her limbs, she golfs, she punts, she rows, she swims, she plays, she sings, she dances too, from 10 or 11 till all is blue. At ball or drum, till small owls come, chaperone's fan conceals her yawning. She'd waltz away like a teetotum, and never go home till daylight's dawning. Lawn tennis may share her favours fair, her eyes are dance and her cheeks are glowing. Down comes her hair, but what does she care? It's all her own and it's worth the showing. Go search the world and search the sea, then come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English girl. Her soul is sweet as the ocean air, for prudery knows no haven there. To find her modesty, please apply to the conscious blush and the downcast eye. Rich in the joy contentment brings, in every pure enjoyment wealthy, blithe as a beautiful bird she sings, for body and mind are hale and healthy. Her eyes they thrill with right goodwill, her heart is light as a floating feather, as pure and bright as the mountain rill that leaps and laughs in the highland heather. Go search the world and search the sea, and come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English
Then I may sing and play.
You may.
I may laugh and shout.
No doubt.
These maxims you endorse.
Of course.
You won't escape a fight.
Not I.
When I may sing and play, and I may laugh and shout, you won't escape a fight.
Whatever you say, be that. Whatever you say, be true. Straightforward the act, be honest in fact, be nobody else but you.
Give a very answer act, your character true and fair, and when it is right, you'll then be a type of a capital English girl.
Oh, sweet surprise, oh dear delight, to find it undisputed quite, all musty fusty rules despite, that heart is wrong and nature right. Oh, sweet surprise, oh dear delight, to find it undisputed quite, all musty fusty rules despite, that heart is wrong and nature right.
shall be broken. When but a maid of 15 years, unsought, unplighted, short petticoated, and I fear still shorter sighted, I made a vow one early spring that only to some spotless king who proof of blameless life could bring, I'd be united. For I had read not long before of blameless kings in fairy lore, and thought the race still flourished here. I was a maid of 15 years. Well, 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 I was a maid of 15 years. Each morning I pursued my dame, an early riser. For spotless monarchs I became an advertiser, but all in vain I searched each land, so king this to my native strand, return a little older and a good deal wiser. I learnt that spotless king and prince had disappeared some ages since in Paramount's angelic grace. Is but a mask on nature's face. Ah me, is but a mask on nature's face. On nature's face.
Lady Sophy, then you love me, for so you sing.
No, no, by the stars that shine above me, degraded king. For while these rumors through the city bruited, remain uncontradicted, unrefuted, the object now of my aversion rooted, repulsive thing.
Be just, the time is now at hand when truth may published be. These paragraphs were written and contributed by me.
By you? No, no.
Yes, yes, I swear, by me. I, caught in Scaphio's ruthless toil, contributed the lot.
And that is why you did not boil the author on the spot.
And that is why I did not boil the author on the spot.
I couldn't think why you did not boil the author on the spot.
Boil him on the spot.
Rapture for my sovereign has deigned a convincing explanation, and the clouds had gathered all have vanished in the distance, and of kings of fairy lore, one at least is in existence. Of kings of fairy lore, one at least is in existence.
The skies are blue above, and the earth is red and rosal. Now the lady of my love has accepted my proposal. For the Tassinodin pawns I have crossed without assistance, and of prudish paragons one at least is in existence. Of prudish paragons one at least is in existence.
The clouds
that gathered all have vanished, have vanished, have vanished in the distance.
All have vanished, all have vanished, all have vanished, vanished, vanished in the distance.
The nature of the wrongs and the desperate consequences that must ensue if they're not rectified.
I have explained nothing. I have done better than that. I have made an affidavit that what they suppose to be happiness is in fact unspeakable misery, and they are furious. You know how you can't help believing an affidavit.
Of course, an admirable thought. Ah, they come!
On a single land, and Ireland was command, bring borders later and like some causeless focus, and made us godly rule, the deed she dared to do, and all is owing to those hated vows of progress.
Down with them, reforms and major progress. So down with them, down with them.
Down with the vows of progress. Down with the vows of progress. Down with them, down with them, down with them, down with them, down with the vows of progress.
What means this unmannerly eruption? Is this your gratitude for boons conferred?
Boons? Bah! A fico for such boons, say we!
Yay!
These boons have brought Utopia to a standstill. Our pride and boast, the Army and the Navy, have both been reconstructed and remodelled on so irresistible a basis that all the neighbouring nations have disarmed and war's impossible. Yay! Your county councillor has passed such drastic sanitary laws that all the doctors dwindle, starve and die. Commerce is stagnant. Every man is now a company limited, and when he's done, winds himself up and then begins afresh. The laws, remodelled by Sir Bailey Barr, have quite extinguished crime and litigation. The lawyers starve, and all the jails let as model lodgings for the working classes. In short, Utopia, swamped by dull prosperity, stifled with benefits, all English-born, demands that these detested flowers of progress be sent about their business and affairs restored to their original complexion.
Yes!
Is this your will?
It is! It is! Down with the flowers of progress!
My daughter, this is a very unpleasant state of things. What is to be done?
I don't know. Oh, there's something wrong. I don't understand it.
Is everything at a standstill in England? Is there no litigation there? No bankruptcy? No poverty? No crime? No squalor? No sickness?
Plenty. It's the most prosperous country in the world. We must have omitted something.
Omitted something? Yes, that's all very well, but...
Oh, of course. Why, I had forgotten the most important, the most vital, the most essential element of all.
And that is?
Government by party. Introduce that great and glorious element, at once the bulwark and foundation of England's greatness, and all will be well. No political measure will endure, because one party will assuredly undo all that the other party has done. Inexperienced civilians will govern your army and your navy. No social reforms will be attended, because out of vice, squalor and drunkenness, no political capital is to be made. And while grouse is to be shot and foxes worried to death, the legislative action of the country will be at a standstill. Then there will be sickness and plenty, endless lawsuits, crowded jails, interminable confusion in the army and the navy, and, in short, general and unexampled prosperity.
Ularica! Ularica!
That's full! But an hour will come.
Your hour has come already. Away with them and let them wait my will. Tarara, you deserve some compensation in exchange for the privilege of blowing us up and succeeding to the throne. So, we appoint you perpetual Chief Inspector of Explosives under 3839 Vic Cap 17 S62. From this moment, government by party is adopted with all its attendant blessings. And henceforward, Utopia will no longer be a monarchy limited, but what is a great deal better, a limited monarchy.
There's a little group of isles beyond the wave, so tiny you might almost wonder where it is. That nation is the bravest of the brave, and cowards are the rarest of all rarities. The proudest nations kneel at her command. She terrifies all foreign-born rapscallions, and holds the peace of Europe in her hand with half a score invincible battalions.
Such a beast is the tale which is born of the gale from the island which dwells in the sea. Let us hope for her sake that she makes no mistake, that she's all she professes to be.
Oh, may we copy all her maxims wise, and imitate her virtues and her charities, And may we by decrees acclimatize her parliamentary peculiarities. By doing so we shall in course of time regenerate completely our entire land. Great Britain is that monarchy sublime, to which some add, but others do not, Ireland.
Such a beast is the tale which is born of